All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Kristel David, and this is the Keep the Spark Alive Summit. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'm so excited to be here with Miss Shelah Marie. The Keep the Spark Alive Summit is just my way of really digging deep and reaching out to a bunch of different women. They all have different walks of life, and finding how is it as women can we keep a piece of ourselves, keep that spark within ourselves alive when we start to extract all these roles as wives and mothers and girlfriends and you know, business women and friends and sisters and cousins, and there's just so many roles that we play as women. It's so easy to forget about who you are, what makes you happy. And I really, truly believe that you were you first before you took on any other role. And so the Keep the Spark Alive Summit has a few layers, but the core layer is keeping that piece of you alive and how that can transcend into keeping a healthy relationship, a healthy marriage, and so on and so forth. So we're just happy that you're here. And today I am just so honored. I have completely fallen in love with this Shelah Marie because I was writing some notes about what I love about you, but I'm just going to say them off the top of my head. I love your voice, first of all. But I love just your realness. I love your heart. You could just tell when you're speaking to people, you're speaking from your heart, from your soul. You're real. So the realness is just, you know, we live in a time where it's easy to just become an expert and become a personality. You got followers, you get likes, and then you just take on this role. But this is you. And so I love that. We're going to send you guys to Shelah's site so you can just check out all of who she is. She's an amazing woman, but just a little bit. She is a fierce feminist. You will always hear her rocking it out for us women and holding us down. An actress, an online personality. She gives. She's the founder of CCC, which I want you to share more about that later. So I'm going to save that. But I really wanted to get Shelah in front of this summit because I have been just blessed by the little pieces that I've gotten from her through social media and YouTube. And I would love to just kind of bottle that up for a little bit. So we're just going to jump right in. Yes. I want to first just ask you, tell us a little bit of like, if you had to describe yourself as who is Shelah Marie, who are you? What are you?
Oh God, it's like someone asked me that question the other day. Like, if you stripped away everything, who are you? And I'm like, well, if you strip away everything, I feel like I'm just a piece of stardust, like we all are. But who is Shelah Marie? I am committed to telling stories, and I just feel like my background as an actress is really the foundation for that. And I think that in acting I learned how to tell a story, I learned how to communicate, I learned how to get a point across, how to listen, how to deconstruct human behavior. And so I took that into what I do now, which is I just like think about why people do what they do, and that stories are the foundational tools. Like, they're the building blocks for our life. The stories you tell yourself about yourself and the world create your experience. So through my work with Curvy Curly Conscious, which helps women live happier and healthier, or my meditation work, whatever it may be, I'm always deconstructing a story and telling a new one, or inviting you to be open to hearing a new one.
Yeah, I love the stories we tell ourselves, because we tell ourselves some crazy stories.
Oh, listen. And the worst part is we believe the stories we tell ourselves, which might not necessarily be true. But if we believe them, we'll make them true.
Yeah, for sure. What is your biggest challenge? Or before I go there, what are some of your hats as a woman? What are
I was thinking that as you were talking. Well, I'm an entrepreneur with Curvy Curly Conscious, and I didn't know I was building a brand or a company, and all of a sudden I am. So that's a new role for me. I'm a creative, so that means I'm always creating things out of nothing. I am also a partner. I think that my commitment to my partner and like also supporting his life is very important, and I take that very, very important, and I love that. I've always wanted to do that. So in terms of like him making sure he has healthy foods to eat, and like watering the plants, and the cleaners and the cars, and like everything. So there's that, because actually that is my contribution to his ability to make finances and do other things. And I'm also, to me, a social, I don't know, an online personality is the only way I can describe it. People seem to like what I say or listen to things that I say. So those might be the hats I can think of for right now.
I love how it comes as this, almost like a shock to you that people just love you and gravitate to you. But it, I mean, even me, like, I'm just like, oh, whenever I see you go live, I'm like, oh, she's on there. I want to just get a piece of that life.
It's funny because I always thought I talked too much, and I do, but that's like the thing I do now. This is what I do for a living, is I talk.
I could talk forever, but I love listening, and listening is a new skill that I'm practicing as a talker. I'm like, you gotta listen, you know? So.
Yeah, you do. It's true. It's true.
So do you feel like there is a major challenge to keeping a sense of Shelah alive, or do you feel like because a lot of what you're doing is you, are you pretty balanced in that area?
Yeah, I can see how that definitely was a problem for me before, more when I was pursuing life as an actress, because I found that you always had to sell, but it wasn't like you were selling yourself, but I constantly found myself in scenarios where I wasn't being who I was. It was trying to fit a circle in a square, but because I had identified as an actress, I had put that label on myself. Can I snap any of this?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, sorry. Because I'm like, oh, this would be good to snap when I thought about it. I love it. Hi. But yes, as I was pursuing life as an actress, I found that it was like trying to fit a circle in a square in some sense. In pursuing acting in the traditional sense, it wasn't 100% me at all times. And so what I did when I moved to Miami is I figured out how to build a life around who I am, so that I don't have to code switch all day. I mean, we still do to an extent, but my life, the work that I do with Curvy Curly Conscious, the work that I do with Soul Study with Shelah, like everything I do in my life, my speaking engagements are all me.
Yeah.
So that makes keeping who I am. That means keeping my identity. The things that I stand for are all my brand pillars. So they're very easy to keep in alignment. You know what I'm saying?
That's good. That's good. So one of the reasons why I really, when I first started looking for experts for this summit, my mind was kind of narrowed into like, okay, keep the spark alive. I do want a foundation to be keeping it for all women, but I do want to really speak to women who are wives and mothers, because I feel like we struggle to keep a sense of ourselves. So then it clicked for me. I don't know, I was listening to something you were saying. Oh, it was one of your lives, and you were talking about your relationship, and I'm going to get to that in a second, of what you said that I would love for you to explore a little more on. But it clicked to me like, I don't have to just get a mom to do this, or a wife to do this summit. We need to hear from all women, because again, it's the Shelah Marie type of life that I'm trying to reignite within these moms and these wives of, don't forget the pillars of who you were before you took on those roles, right? So that being said, what would you say would be, your advice for, sorry, I was reading and then thinking at the same time, but
I know that happens all the time.
So that was why I wanted to bring you into this, was just to get a piece of you, to kind of pour into those of us who have kind of maybe lost that. And one of the things that you said when you were live is you were talking about how to keep it like spiced up in the relationship and things that you can do. So is there anything that you can share for us? Because I'll give you like where this question came from. For me, it's like I wake up, my husband leaves to work before I'm out of the bed, so he sees me sleeping when he leaves. And then I was at the gym, and I was talking to a girlfriend, and she's like, oh yeah, I love it in the morning. I'm like, ooh, I can't even picture waking up to get anything or give anything in the morning. So like we sleep, then we go to school, we're doing work, we're soccer, blah blah blah. We get our kids to bed. Once they're in bed, we are just like exhausted. So I can see how it's so easy to lose sight of those little things that keep, like, I always try to remember, what the heck did me and my husband do when there was no kids there? Like, how did we entertain? There wasn't even social media when we were dating before kids. So we were sitting on our Instagram and our Twitter and our Facebook like we do now. Well, I'm like, what the heck did we do for all those hours? So maybe if you could give us a little bit of insight to what are some of the things that you and your partner do to just be in a relationship when there is no kids involved. And I mean, I know you do have, there is kids involved because you do have your step kids, but
yes, what do we do? Do you mean like romantically or sexually?
You could give us a little insight of any of the above. I mean, I don't know how open you're willing to be, so what, just in all areas. I mean, but one of the things that triggered the question was you were giving advice, and one of the things I loved you said was having a day of gratitude. Like, just
that's funny because that's exactly what came to my mind.
Yeah, so exploring that, because I was like, oh my gosh, I have yet to do it, by the way, because I've been like, oh, I'm mad at him today.
It's hard because you really have to put a lot of pride and ego to the side, right?
Yes. Oh my God.
Because your ego is like, well, you don't deserve to have gratitude. You don't deserve praise. Like, you have to earn that, and you didn't earn it enough. And it's just a shift of perspective, instead of like, because it requires us, it's a selfless act, because it requires the focus to be the other person and not you, and not like that it's the intention, like the way people think of Jesus. Like, Jesus comes and says, or something like, I'm gonna not quote him directly, but you know what I'm saying, like, it's not your acts or the things that you do that make you like earn my love. It's already freely given. It's already given to you. I already love you. I already accept you. And whenever you stray off, I'm still here. And you know what I mean? There's still like atonement and there's stuff that happens, but it's like, in a relationship, what can happen over time is that there can always be like a point system, or like well, what about that? You did that. You don't deserve it. I'm going to make you pay. I might not say anything directly, but I might be passive aggressive for 3 days, or I might go to sleep early for 3 days, or have a headache, and because that's the way to punish them in a sense. And that happens. No judgment on that. I do that too sometimes. It happens. But I think like the idea like of a gratitude night, first of all, it really knocks men off their feet, because I could almost 89-90% guarantee they have never had a woman do it for them before. That's how rare this type of stuff is. So when you come through with this type of stuff, they're very surprised. They don't even know how to respond. I think Ace almost started crying the first time I did that, because he was just like, well, what did I do to deserve it? What? Who are you? Am I in heaven? Like, he was so happy, because it was like all I was saying was like appreciating everything he did do, as opposed to thinking of all the things you didn't do. You would look at it in two ways. You can look at it and be like, well, I wish you would have handled this faster. This thing, he's a Taurus. Taurus moves slow, but when they move completely. I'm an Aries. We move, and then we think about it what? Oh, I'm sorry, right? So that's a constant struggle. So I'm like, well, I wish you would have done this earlier. Well, you didn't do that thing. Well, I need this thing too. And and you can think about it like that, or you can think about like, wow, look at how much my life has changed since I know you. Like, seriously, look at how much you struggle and you sacrifice for the people around you. You support your mom. You support your family. You take care of the people around you. You put me like, you make me feel honored. You make me like, and do you always get it 100% right? But who do I? Who does? So it's like you shift your perspective and it also in your brain chemically shifts what you hold on to. Your chemical pathways are going to be different. If you're always looking to the negative, which your brain is naturally going to do as a defense mechanism, your ego is going to look for the threat, is going to try to remember that to keep you safe. It's not all a bad thing, but it's a total act it's a real radical act for you and for your partner to be like, I'm not paying attention to that right now. You know what? Thank you for that. But still thank you. So it's like, because your natural inclination is going to be like, gotta make him pay. Yeah. And just think about it for you. Like, think about your children, right? If your daughter did something wrong, like, would you every day go to her and be like, well, no, because of that thing you did on Wednesday, you don't deserve strawberries. Go sit down. Right. You wouldn't. How would you treat her? You'd be like, oh, mama, that's okay. You won't do that again. I know you did it. That's okay. Okay, let's sit with mommy. Oh, let's read a book, right? You treat her with love, care, and kindness. And men need that too. Men need that too. Men need that just like your children need that. And a lot of times men won't say that because they don't know how to articulate that. They're not comfortable with articulating that. It might compromise their masculinity in some way, but definitely expressing gratitude. And the way you can express gratitude is verbal. You can write it, and you can do it through like in a, not exactly sex, like, oh, thank you, sex, like not like that, but you can actually express gratitude through touch. Like, I look up sensual massages on YouTube, and like, I like, touch is so powerful, and even non-sexual touch, because like even touching someone and being like, I just love these arms. Your arms are so strong. They keep me safe. You make me feel so safe and protected. Like, even stuff like that is so profound, because humans don't touch each other unless it's time for sex. And maybe you hug your partner every now and then, but if a stranger puts their arm on you, you're like, whoa. Yeah. So connection through the gratitude. I'm done. I don't know.
No, that, I'm just like, so I'll tell you, when you first said that on the live, one of the reasons why I hadn't done it yet is because I'm an over analyzer. And I've been sitting here like, okay, how am I going to do this? Like, what are the details? So can you give us a little bit of insight of how, is it like an act, like where you just say, okay, today's the day from sun up to sundown, I'm just going to focus on the positive? Is it something that you just strive to do all the time? Or is it like, when he gets home from work today, I'm going to make sure then I'm going to start with dinner, and then I'm going to do a massage, and then, is it just an ongoing act? Or
all of the above, and customizable to you? I would say, like, I haven't actually tried one of these yet, but my healer actually told me to do it. Like the whole gratitude day, like I want to try that one day, like where you just pick a day, and like even once a month, I think could be a reset button. And this day, we can only say positive things about each other and to each other. That's it. So if there's something that comes up, you figure out a way to spin it, or you don't talk about it that day. Or you didn't pay that bill. You know what? I love how you always pay bills on time. Did you see this one that came up? I didn't think it was paid. That's still a way of saying it, but it's not like, yo, hey, do that shit, So I think like, you can do a gratitude day, which is just like expressing gratitude and positivity, so that everything that comes out of your mouth, you think before you say it. Get 5 seconds. Thank you, honey. Thank you. Thank you for the big. I usually don't like sesame seeds, but thank you. Or whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't like sesame seeds, but it's just a matter of flipping it. Also, what's really nice is like the sexual touch, because sexual chemistry is so important, and a lot of men really keep it high on their value system. And a lot of men associate their sexual chemistry and with being wanted as a man, with being desired by their partner, and with being important as a man. Like, it's weird, like the way men have been socialized to value sex so highly. So it's very important for men to still have sex and to feel like they're wanted, because that is when you open up the door for a man to be like, well, I don't know, am I still hot? Am I still sexy? Oh, she thinks I'm hot and sexy? Like, because they need that as well. So if you're going to do an evening, you could just say, hey, like Wednesday night, 7 o'clock, the kids are at the nanny or mom or whatever, blah, blah, 7 o'clock, I have a surprise plan. I have everything you need. I'll see you then. And then, he comes home and you can role play. I think that's good for people like us who overanalyze, and it's hard for us to say those nice things. I'm also an actress, but I love to pretend I'm someone else, and then I can say it. I find it more easily for her to say it than me. Like, like, hello, what's your husband's last name?
David.
David? Oh, hello, Mr. David. How are you? It's so happy to. You look amazing. Have you been working out? You look great. Okay, we have your dinner over here. It's not you saying it, and it's like easier sometimes for you to divorce yourself from that like person, because you might have all of this whole stream of 17 years or whatever of experiences that are coming up. Like she doesn't have that. So sometimes I find it nice to speak through a third party. And then you can write letters too. You can write letters. People don't write letters, and sometimes it's nice to write because you get it out without being interrupted, and the person can refer to it later. Text messages and stuff are different. But if you just wrote a letter and like left it in his car, like at night, in the morning, he goes to leave in his car and there's a letter there, like stuff like that really shifts the energy and dynamic.
Yeah. I had a quick story on that because one of my I don't know where I saw this, but it might have been hearing it from you because you did say role play, but I was dying laughing because I talked to my husband, and me and him both are really basic, like when it comes to like he doesn't need a whole lot. Like if I came in with like some whips and stuff, he was wait a minute. But I was like, I was thinking, do you think we could role play like a whole night and like just like go from like the restaurant to like whatever?
Yes.
Do you know, it was so funny because when I pictured us doing that, I'm so crazy inside that I was like, I do not need to see him flirting with somebody else. I'm gonna be mad.
That is so funny. You know what?
The second I turned myself into, I'm like, oh, this will be really fun. Like we can flirt again, like we used to. And but the reason why I wanted to share this story is because I think it's so important. And this is why I was just so grateful for you doing this today, because I think people are gonna be so blessed by it. Because you get in a marriage. I've been married with my husband for over 12 years, and we've been married for 7.
Wow.
So like when I had to put myself in a role play position, I was like, oh, I'll be damned if he's flirting with me. He doesn't need to know how to flirt anymore. Like he doesn't know what to say to no girl at the bar. Like, oh, so, and then, but when I brought it up to him, what makes us work is he had the same crazy. He was like, I don't think I'd be able to do it because I would be mad like when you start flirting back with me. So we both had that crazy. But because we both have it, I think, we're going to ease ourselves into that, because what it brought to me was the realization that we should still be flirting with each other.
Yeah.
Important. And it was very fun and intriguing to think about, like, oh, I want to pick him up at the bar and like, take him home. Like that would be fun. So
yeah.
like, definitely, like, it's something that I want to work towards. But it was just so funny how our brains are just so crazy that we were like, no, you're not gonna.
I mean, you might find out something new about each other. You might, like, you know what I mean? You never know.
And it was gonna be hard for me because I was really thinking like, so what do you do? And like, asking him stuff like that. And I'm like, dang, these are questions that I don't even really know what he does that much, because he just goes to work. And then by the time he gets home, we're just so tired. And there's a lot of things we don't even talk about. So it was just, it opened up a lot of stuff for me. So I was very grateful for you sharing that. But anyway, so now I think a big challenge in relationships, especially for women, is the sexy, like keeping it sexy. I think moms forget to do their hair and get stuff done, and your body changes after having kids. And then we live in a time of social media just has access at your fingertips. So it's easy. Like I will say for me, what's jacked me up the most is, even though I know people are looking into me like, oh, she's this and she's that, I'm looking out to 100 other people who are this and that. So it's doing something to my psyche where I'm not enough, right? So I think this would be a good time too to instill some of your meditation. Maybe you could direct us to where we could like learn, where we can get more of your practices or anything. Maybe that's not the answer, but how do you deal with being sexy and keeping it sexy? I'll just stop there and then we can kind of move on from that.
Sexy. Well, I was just talking about this morning, because I find that I feel the most sexy when I feel the most confident with myself.
Mm-hmm.
So whether that be like I'm doing well financially in my business, I'm doing like my projects are going well, I'm working out, like I'm eating well, like that's when I feel the most sexy. When I feel insecure about myself, like I tend to close up, I tend to not feel open, I tend to not want to be vulnerable, and I tend to not want to engage in sex. Like it's a real subconscious thing for me, because I think sex and intimacy are in the mind. So how do I keep my sexy? Like I used to do this before when I started with my Instagram. I would look at myself in the mirror, like tell myself I'm beautiful. Like it starts with myself actually, because the more I'm into myself, the more I want to like, somebody got to see this. Somebody got to see this. Look at this shit. Oh, like, so I like make it a thing to like, that's why like I'm so happy for my relationship with Touch Dolls, like trying on new clothes, seeing how you look in different things. And for me, I noticed actually keeping the sexual spark alive for me involves me and him going out, being seen together, looking nice. I don't know why, but I found out that is so important to me. I need to dress up. I need to feel beautiful publicly. I need to be seen in people. That is something that I wanted. And he was like, oh, okay, so then we make sure we have a date night or we both go out and dress up because it means something to me. I love the idea of going out to a public space. People are looking at me and like, oh, she looks nice. And women are looking at him like, who is that? And I'm like, yes, I take you home. You're mine. And so that feeds into sexual activity for me. My sexual activity dwindles like, like a feather going down after, like if I work from home. So if I'm in the house all week, I don't get out, don't get to dress up, then I notice. So for me, the sexual spark starts from being confident with myself. If I don't like the way my body looks, okay, get back into working out. Because even if you don't see results immediately, it changes the way you feel about yourself. And then for me, like carving time out to feel sexy with him in public.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I think that's definitely something I could relate to because I love being out and just being around people. And like you said, then
people say there's something wrong with that, and I'm like, I know that I like attention, and know yourself.
Yeah.
Like that's why meditation is so great because it allows me to connect with the things that I find valuable and the things that are valuable to me. Like, you know what? I really value having attention every now and then. I like attention from him a lot. Like those are my values. These are the things I need to be happy. Okay. And then I tell him, I know how to say it. And he goes, oh, okay. And he knows how to express it. A book that helped a lot was The 5 Love Languages with that.
This is like the third time that's been recommended in this month. I actually heard there's classes you could do with your partner around it. So you should look into it. I'm going to look into it. The last interview that I actually did, she said her and her husband, they did the class. We're in California, so in Orange County area, but they did it like 4 or 5 years into their marriage, and she said, I swear that was what changed our whole marriage and like saved it. Yeah. So
the book really made a difference. I can imagine the class. Yeah. I want to take one now.
I'm gonna look into it. She's like, yeah. So I'm excited to look into that. But so I want to kind of wrap things up. I want to be respectful of the time that I promised. But is there anything else that you would like if this was like a friend or a daughter or a sister or even talking to yourself, what would you give advice to a wife and a mom or a woman just trying to keep the spark alive within herself and in her marriage? Is there anything I didn't ask you to pull out that you feel like is still left unsaid?
I'm trying to think of the way I want to say that. I want to say to women that I see that are mothers and wives that you don't have to, like, I see a lot of women that I know it seems like they sacrifice themselves as if they lay down themselves to allow their family to flourish or their children to flourish or their husband and whatever. And when I see that, I kind of cringe because I know that the best thing, like nobody wins when you dim your light. Nobody wins. If we were all in a dark cave and we needed to get out, we would need a light. And like that light would be the guide for everybody in the dark cave to find their way. And so like lowering yourself because you feel like, oh, I don't want to take up space. I don't want to take up time, but my kids, I could be doing this for my kids. You know what your kids benefit the most from? Seeing a healthy woman who's happy. Having a happy mom. Having a mom who has great sex with their dad actually makes them happier. It's in the air. They don't need to know about that, but you know what I'm saying? It's in the air. So like knowing that like you need to put your schedule into your schedule needs to be you as well as all of these other things that you have to do. Because at the end of the day, if you don't, you will dry up and have nothing to give. And then like, who do you serve at that point? Like come home yelling at the kids because like your anxiety is through the roof or you have nothing left. You're done with your husband. You don't even want to talk to him. You have no patience for him. Everyone loses now. Yeah. You don't go for your career. You don't want to do that because I don't have time to explore that. I have to take care of my kids. So then you're unhappy in your job. And so what I see all the time is women sacrificing, which being a mother does involve a certain type of sacrifice. I'm sure I'm not a mother, but from what I know in the world, I'm sure it does, right? But finding that you don't lose yourself and you still keep a place and a home for yourself that you're constantly pouring into, knowing that that is the best gift you give the people around you is to fill yourself up.
Well, it sounded like you just did a piece for Wife Complex, because that is like the DNA of this whole brand. So that was
Yes.
a perfect and beautiful way to wrap this up, because that is the mission behind this whole movement, this whole brand, this whole summit, is to just kind of, I want to just revive these women, because we don't have to lose ourselves to taking all those things in. So thank you so much. I want to just, as we close it out, I want to just turn it to you to just tell us, where can we find you? What is our call to action, because I know people are dying to stay in touch with you and to just
Yes.
get more
So,
of it.
oh, thank you. I appreciate that. You can find me, my most engaged social media is Instagram, which is at the Shelah Marie, which is SHELAHMARIE. So the Shelah Marie. And also for any women who'd love to come with Curvy Curly Conscious, we're producing self-love day parties, which are full day events of where we have a great panel discussion with influencers. We talk about depression, anxiety, how to find your place as a woman, but we do it in a very fun and light way. Like our tagline is get lit and get enlightened. And so I don't think there's anything like this out there for women of color in particular now. We nurture women of color. We accept all women. We do meditation. We do yoga. We do healthy lunch. We do massages. We give self-love kits. It's a full day to get you ready on your journey to be awesome and more dope than you already are. Those are happening in Miami, Chicago, LA, and Atlanta. If you want to find more, you can go to curvycurlyconscious.com.
I cannot wait for those.
Yeah! Are you coming to LA?
But I plan on traveling, because I want to come to a couple other cities. So it's a hard pick, because Chicago, Atlanta, I love them all. So.
Oh, and the Chicago venue is insane. It's beautiful.
Then I'm gonna maybe have to come. I have a lot of friends there. I went to college nearby there, so I have a lot of friends. So I will probably be coming. But thank you so much, Shelah. Like, you are just a huge blessing to me and to so many people. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you for doing this. I hope I helped in some way.
No, you in so many ways. And I'm gonna be putting this in practice. I'll probably be sending you notes like, this is what happened. But thank you again, and thank you guys for tuning in, and be looking out for the next interview to come. And thank you for your time.
Yay!